will find out. The election results are in. Let me be the first to congratulate you, President.
Hello. I'm good. It's kind of warm, but I'm good. Give me 1 sec. I will be right back. I need to go get some water. Alrighty, I'm back. Okay. Yes, I am from California. It's hot. Jesus Christ. Hello. Hi. Am I alright? Yeah, I'm fine. Why? Yeah, I'm always up late. Insomnia is a pain in the butt. It's my best friend. Yeah, I like it. Although it cheated me the last time I played it, so I kind of went on a I'm mad at you hiatus. I just started playing it again yesterday. Well, 2 days ago. Yeah, I'm in Southern California. It's freaking hot tonight. Jesus, it's like 76 inside my house. That's ridiculous. I'd love to switch. Oh no. Let's see. Right now it is. What's the weather?
It's 62 degrees and clear in Palmdale.
It lies? It is not 62 degrees. It lies. There is no way it's 62. If it is 76 degrees inside my house, how the hell is it 62 outside? That's crazy. Oh my goodness. No, not anymore. Yeah. What's that? Oh, okay. Yeah, I remember you telling me. Oh, gotcha. I'm like, oh, he's hiding something. I guess I'll put that there. Yeah, it's like a good 20 second, like 15, 20 second delay in the feed. It's pretty crazy. When I'm in a chat with friends watching their stream, I have to like make sure I turn down the stream audio. Like I just turn my TV down and I just listen to them through the headset. Because otherwise I'm like repeating answers. They're like, you already answered that. I'm like, well shit, I just heard it. So, yeah, that's usually what I do. Let's see. What else do I need to build? Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. Wait, the bigger one. What's the... I don't think I've heard of that. That's not bad. This cost me 45, I think. It's pretty decent. Oh yeah. Well, mine is for medical marijuana. Mine's not tobacco. So I get mine from my delivery service. Yeah. I'm moving if it is. I'm packing up all my shit and I'm moving. Cause if Trump gets president, we're getting blown up. Every country in the world is gonna set their sights on us. He is basically the poster model of what every foreigner thinks an American really is. It's horrible. Like, he just perpetuates the stereotype that every other country thinks we are. So it won't be pretty. What's that? Obama what? I think he has, for what they've allowed him to do. They cut him off a lot at the knees and made it very clear on a few different things that before he ever came to them with it, they were gonna nix it. So they've put a lot of roadblocks in his way. I think we would have been in a lot better position as a country if they had let him do the things he set out to do instead of fighting him tooth and nail. But he did the best with what he can do. He did the best with what he was handed. So I give him a lot of credit. He's always handled himself with dignity and class. You know, you look at the difference and you look at like Trump rallies, and when there's protesters at Trump rallies, he encourages them, you know, to beat the crap out of the rioters and to kick them out. And, oh, no one wants to hear what they have to say. They're pathetic. They're blah, blah, blah. But when Obama gets protesters, he's like, okay, you know, they don't have to go anywhere. They're, you know, it's a free country. They can sit here and say what they have to say, but they should hear me as well. You know, and he handles himself with a lot of class. So it's sad to see him go, especially with what's trying to proceed. It's just scary. I mean, I'm kind of at a point right now where my mindset is anyone but Trump. Anyone. Big Bird could run for president and I would vote Big Bird, just like anyone. Although I do like Bernie Sanders a lot. And I do have respect for Hillary. She did a lot on her end when her husband was in office. So she's got credibility, but they've been steadily chopping away at that, which is ridiculous. Although she has kind of put her own foot in her mouth a couple of times during some of the debates. And I'm like, but why? You could stand on your own. Why did you have to put your foot in your mouth? Like, why did you? Horrible. So for that reason, I side more with Bernie. If she had just played a straight campaign, if she had just said, look, this is what I've done before, this is what I want to continue to do. You know, I know what it's like to be in office. I stood by my husband through everything. Look at what we did for this country while my husband was in office. I think it would have gotten her a lot further. But when she started kind of doing little tiny smear campaigns against Sanders, I was like, that's the wrong guy for you to be doing that, because that guy supported you as senator. That guy supported you and all the things you were trying to do when your husband was in office. Like, that's the wrong guy for you to try to chop down right now. Like, he had your back. And now you're trying to say like, oh, that's funny. Where were you when it's like, he was right there. Look at the pictures. Go look at the old videos. He's right behind you. Like, right there. So Bernie's the only one who has played it right. You know, he just sticking to the facts. He's not slinging mud. He's not sinking down to anybody's level, you know. And the sad thing is, though, when you run a campaign that way, you don't get as much television time because you're the quiet guy in the background and everyone's talking about the jackass that's running his mouth and Hillary who's putting her foot in her mouth, and Bernie's just kind of left in the background, you know, as the quiet guy. But I really think out of the three, I really do believe he is probably the best suited, although I don't know if he's going to win it for the Democrats. Yep, I'm waiting for ours. Oh, yeah. And it would be worse because it wouldn't just be Jews. It would be the blacks. It would be the Hispanics. It would be the Asians. It would, you know. And it's funny because he talks about immigrants and all of this other stuff, but aren't all of his wives foreigners? I'm just saying. Like, all of his wives, none of his wives were born here. Like, they were all foreigners. So it's like, meh. You know. Okay, sure, guy. It's whatever you say. It's hamburgers with tomatoes in it. I don't like tomatoes. Oh, baby. Good night, my love. Mm-mm. No. And tomatoes are not my thing. Yeah. Can't say exactly why, but I just this. It's very. I mean, I'll if they're in there, I'll eat them. I won't make too big of a fuss, but I'd rather not. Although I do like cherry tomatoes. I do like, but like, you know, in salad, you know, in like salads and stuff like that. But yeah, other than that, like, you won't catch me just eating tomatoes. No, I'm closer to Valencia. Yeah. Northern Los Angeles County. Yeah. Yeah, northern Los Angeles County. I want to say it's like a 6-hour drive, I think. I'm about, let's see, I'm about anywhere from an hour and a half to 2 hours from Santa Monica. I am about 45 minutes from Burbank. And about an hour outside of LA, like metropolitan LA, about an hour and 15 minutes or so, depending on traffic. No traffic, it's about an hour and 15 minutes. Yeah. Yeah. That I do believe. It is. LA traffic is no fun. Oh yeah. Right. I don't have San Andreas. I only have GTA 5. Oh. Did I hear the update about it? No. What crazy update is there now? They've been saying that forever. They've been saying that for 20 years now, since the last big. See, this is my theory on that. Is as long as we continue to have a bunch of smaller quakes, we're good. It's when we stop having those smaller quakes that we need to really start worrying, because then you've got all the buildup sitting waiting. But as long as the little earthquakes are popping off, that's releasing pressure. So I don't see this big, huge earthquake happening because, you know, you've been here for quite some time. If you remember the Northridge quake, there weren't a whole lot of earthquakes happening, you know, in a few years before the Northridge quake. And then the Northridge quake hit and it was pretty big. But we've had a bunch of small quakes, you know, I mean, and I don't even want to say small, because it's funny for people that are coming from like out of the state, like a 4.3 is like ridiculous. Blaze is not in here, Mike. I don't know where Blaze is. I invited him and he never showed up, so I don't know where he's at. But yeah, that's like, I'm not worried until, like I said, until we stop getting a bunch of little quakes. Then I'll start worrying. But until then, it's just science. Earthquakes are a way to release pressure from the plates in the earth. So if you're having earthquakes, that means it's releasing pressure, which means you don't have all that buildup. So in order for there to be a large earthquake, there would have to be a substantial amount of buildup sitting and pressure sitting, you know, at the Earth's plates. So as long as you're having those earthquakes, then there isn't that pressure there to build up for the big one. But I learned a little secret while working in real estate, that they will forever say that the next big one is going to happen within the next 30 years because that's the length of your average mortgage. So they say it as a, hey, be aware that if you buy a house, it's likely that sometime in the length of your mortgage, you may deal with an earthquake. But it's also their way to sell earthquake insurance, because you know in California, earthquake insurance is totally separate from your normal like renters or homeowners. Especially depending on where you live. Yeah, yeah, we don't even notice those. We're like, oh, there wasn't. And I remember that like a couple of months ago, I think towards the Montebello area, there was like a 5.1 or something like that. And my sister-in-law who lives up here with me was like, oh my God, like she texted me, she's like, did you feel that? Oh my God. And I was like, did I feel what? I was like, nothing in my house is moving. My dogs aren't barking at all. Like even the pets get used to. Because, you know, I mean, I remember being a kid and people always said you can tell when an earthquake's about to go off because the dogs start acting funny. You know, they start barking and the hair on their back stands up and they can tell something's about. And now like 5.1s and my dogs are like, oh, wake me when it's worse. We're so used to it. So, oh, well, I mean, realistically, if it were, I think probably a 6.3 or higher, then, you know, yeah, then we're definitely going to feel it. There'll probably be some damage, you know, to the older buildings. You know, but since the Northridge quake, so much has got retrofitted, you know. Supposedly, I think I read somewhere that they're supposed, like, the way they retrofitted the freeways and a lot of the newer buildings was, like, to withstand something up to, I think, a 7 point something. Like a 7.0 or a 7.4 or something like that. I think I read that somewhere. So, a lot of, I mean, if you're looking at areas that never really got affected by previous earthquakes and have the older buildings, then yeah, those buildings are in trouble. But there's so much of Southern California that's been hit by earthquakes and wildfires and all the other crazy shit that we have going on, that so many buildings out here now are relatively new and retrofitted, you know, and earthquake ready. So, you know. Oh my goodness. You're like, get in the air, hurry. Get in the air. Jeez. Horrible. Oh. Oh, no kidding. Yeah, they say that too. They do. You know, whatever. The aliens are coming down. The end of the world is starting. You know, how many how many this is the end of times moments have we had? You know, we'll just say since 2000, because, oh, you know, computers aren't going to be able to handle the switch to 2000. Everything's going to blow up and explode and... Yeah, it never happened. We're like, oh, look, zeros. Oh, well, that fixed that. Okay. You know. Yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have seen some stuff that has made me wonder. I have seen some like weird lights and the way that they kind of move through the sky. Not often. I think I've caught it like once or twice in my lifetime. But I was out with friends one night. It was we were at a friend's house in the backyard, like having drinks, and there was a fire going and stuff. And out here it's nice because it's not so like light polluted like big city lights. So you at night you get to see the sky really, really clear for the most part. And so a lot of times when I'm outside at night, I just like to kind of sit up and check out the stars and look at the sky and stuff, because I grew up in LA. So you didn't see the stars as clearly in LA as you do over here. So for me, it's kind of like a neat thing that I get to enjoy. You know, I'm not a big fan of the town I live in. I'd rather be back in LA, but that is like one of the perks. And we were sitting around. It's too expensive. I really wish I could, but God, LA is expensive. And I was just looking up and I saw this, like, it was like a flash of light, and at first I thought it was like a falling star. And I was like, oh, okay, no problem. But then it like, cause it flashed and it like, it went from like bright to like really dim as it like streaked like downward. And then it just like disappeared. And then a couple of seconds later, like it was even brighter. Like, I mean, you know, from the way my eyes are seeing it, it was like, you know, inches, but I'm sure it was like miles, you know, apart from it, and like went up, like shot, like the streak shot up instead of down. And I'm like, okay, wait a minute. Shooting stars don't go that way. Like, wait a minute, what is that?
You know the economy is doing well when your dictator buys golden AKs for his palace
That's
guards.
why I was like, something's not right. Like, I looked at my buddies and I was like, did you just see that? And one of my buddies was like, I thought it was a shooting star. He's like, until I saw it go the other way. And I was like, yeah. I was like, that's what I'm thinking. I'm like, do we have too much to drink? But, yeah. Yeah, you know, I'm like, oh crap, maybe I had too much to drink. But I don't know, like, I like to think that we cannot be the most intelligent beings in this universe. Because if we are, we're fucked. Like, this universe is fucked if we are the most intelligent. We're advanced, but we are fucking retarded. Just as a species, as a being in whole. You know, like, we do too much shit that just destroys our earth, that destroys, you know, we fight amongst each other, you know, and that is just the dumbest thing ever in the world. So I pray very heavily that we are not the only things floating around, you know. And if there is an Earth, what is to say that somewhere in the universe there is not another Earth? Some, you know, and not necessarily to our livable standards. Why does it have to be that in order to sustain life, this needs to happen? You know what I mean? Like, there could be a totally different entity that can survive off of gases instead of oxygen and water. You know? Like, why? What makes us think that the way what we need to survive is the only way for anything to survive ever. You know, like, we just don't know that. There's so many different things. I just don't know if I believe in the big green, you know, lanky arm, slimy looking. I don't think that that's necessarily the case, but, you know. Yeah, you know, it's just, I don't know, it's nice to think that there's something else out there, but it's like you listen to some of the people who, like, have gotten abducted, and I'm like, now wait a minute. Why? I'm just like, I look, and it's not a, like, racist or sexist or fascist kind of thing at all. It's just, if the aliens are coming down to Earth to study us, to get a gauge of what we're like, the kind of people they have abducted, they're not quite the best representation of the human species. Why would the aliens only take those people? Why would they not be taking people from all walks of life? You know, why is it only people in, you know, people in the woods, people that are out, you know, in the deep country, you know, like, why is it only them? Why is there not a well-educated man who's like, I got abducted. I woke up and there was a beam of light and it sucked me into this thing. Like, never once has a well-educated man talked about being abducted. So it, you know, it's like, I think you got really drunk off of moonshine one night and let your horse have the better of you and thought it was a probe from an alien. I'm just saying, you know, but well, no, not as far as haunty things. There's a lot of countries that have, I know Ireland believes that they have a few places that are very haunted. England does as well. Scotland, I believe. Like hauntings and spirit stuff is like global. Like, that's everywhere. But yeah, the alien things tend to be more us than any other country. Possessions? Oh, I will not. I refuse. Movies like The Exorcist, movies that have to deal with, like, possessions, I refuse to watch. I will not do it. Yeah, not even then. Not even then. I watched the original, I watched the original, Exorcist. The original one when I was a little kid. And I think that scarred me so bad. I just refuse. I can watch scary movies. Like, I can watch Nightmare on Elm Street. I can watch, you know, like Friday the 13th. I love all that kind of stuff. I even like watching, like, Poltergeist, like the movie Poltergeist. But I do not like anything that has to do with exorcisms or like devil possessions. I'm like, nope, done, not happening. I believe it's possible. I really truly do believe it's possible to come in contact with an evil spirit. And oh God, the stories I have about that thing. I will never let my kids touch that thing. But, not in a long time. Not since I was like 11. That was the last time. Yeah, I made the mistake of doing it at a girlfriend's house at a sleepover. And it was not, yeah, no. No, not in the least. You know what? I would say I'm spiritual, not so much religious. I grew up Catholic. I grew up in a Catholic family. I went to church every Sunday. There are just too many things with religion that I have issues with. But I do believe in a God. I do believe, that it was intended for us to try to live, as good a life as possible, the whole do no harm. I believe in all of that. There are just too many things with like the Bible and all the different that I'm just like, no. Like, I'm sorry, I don't agree with that. It contradicts everything, because you got the people who, in the Bible it says that, homosexuality is a mortal sin and that you're going straight to hell for it and blah, blah, blah. And I go, what doesn't make sense? I go, how is it going to say that? But in the Bible it says that God loves all his children and that he created each of his children in his own image. So how then are gays suddenly so forbidden if God created them? Oh, they weren't born that way. They chose. Oh, no, they didn't. No, they didn't. Just like you didn't wake up one morning and just choose to love someone of the opposite sex. That was just natural. You just fell in love with whoever it was, and it just so happened that that person had different body parts than you. But, yeah, and I said, and besides that, in the Bible, it states very clearly, don't judge lest ye be judged. So no one here is in a position on this earth to judge anybody. If it's not affecting you personally, if they are not coming up to you and sexually assaulting you or grabbing your ass or hitting on you and you don't like it, then what does it matter to you? You're not the one lying in bed with them. You're not the one holding their hand and kissing them and loving someone. So what does it matter? Live your own life. We are not perfect. And that's one of the other things that got me is, when you go through the Bible and stuff and God sent Jesus down, to repent for our sins. He basically brought his son to this earth to be murdered to forgive all sin is the basis of that. Now, if that were true and Jesus gave his life so that we could be without sin, how is it that the Bible then turns around and states that we are all born with sin? How can we be born with sin if Jesus died to wipe our sin? I don't understand that. Yeah, it's like, I don't understand. So basically Jesus died for nothing then, because we're all still born with sin, so it was pointless for him to die on the cross. Mm-hmm. 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 Yeah, as long as you're not doing it purposely and continue to do it, But I just, I'm kind of, like I said, I believe in a higher power. I believe there is more to this life than just we are here, we live. But I also believe it's a cycle. I believe it's a you get what you give. So, those who spew hatred, who are just mean and spiteful people, that's what ends up coming back their way. And the good-hearted, the kind-hearted, the giving, it may not circle back to them right away, but in some way, shape, or form, that vibe finds its way back to them one way or another at some point or another. Yeah. So, I just try to, I live my life trying to do good by the people that I love. And I give what I receive. So whatever someone gives me is what I give them in return. And some people are like, oh, well, you can't sink, to some people, if they're just mean and spiteful, you don't have to be mean. It's like, I'm not going to be mean and spiteful, but I'm also not going to give them any of my time. I have better things to do with my life than to be sucked in trying to get someone to see the error of their ways, or to let them suck me into their vortex of hatred. And life's hard enough. I don't need someone else coming along trying to complicate my life even more. I try to live my life in a way that is true to who I am, but I'm mindful of the people that I care about the most with the choices that I make. And that's kind of all anyone can really do. You give what you want to get in return, but don't expect to get it in return. Which is difficult. It's difficult because there are days when I'm really stressed out and it seems like there's no one there, for me to have a shoulder, and I get really upset and I'm like, hey, I'm always there for everyone else. Why is there no one here for me when I need them the most? But it's like, eventually, you're sweet. Eventually it comes back, eventually, I may just be having a girl moment and just be really stressed out, and it's not that big of a deal, and then I'm over it and I'm like, oh, that wasn't that big of a deal. All right, whatever. I was overreacting, but then when it really counts, when shit really does hit the fan, then it's like my mom irritates me, because my mom's favorite thing to tell me is, oh, well, I never ask if you need anything because somehow you always manage. And that, annoys me to no end. Because I'm like, well, yeah, I don't have a choice. I have to manage. I have kids I have to take care of.
Presidente.
We've
managed to find a tourist willing to confess.
So it's like, it's not like I had a choice and went, oh, I choose not to make shit happen. Fuck it. There's no one that depends on me, so what? But, it's just one of those things that's my mom's favorite thing to tell me. She's like, oh, I don't worry about you because you always make it happen. And I'm like, well, that's not fair. You're my mom. You should be like, hey, sometimes I'm not going to let you struggle as much. Let me, as your mother, help you out a little bit. I could never imagine my kids and me just being like, oh, you haven't eaten in 3 days? Well, you'll figure it out. You always do. Wait a minute. No, what do you need? If I have it, it's yours. You're my child. Whether you're 3 or 30, it doesn't matter. You're still my child. So, yeah. But, and it's funny because now I'm going to close my stream for now. I am done with my